What?
You're supposed to sneeze.
Tyler, that's me. Hello.
Was he supposed to sneeze?
We're gonna keep that one in.
That's like the clip, the intro that we always use.
Yeah,
It's where we suddenly morph into different outfits all the time.
And then smash cut intro. And then suddenly the cast is different, everyone's in different seats, and you're all in different clothes.
Hey comic fans, welcome to another edition of Comic Shop Talk here at Great Stories. We have a different team. It seems like we always have a different team every month, but that's good. Keeps things fresh, right? But the good news is our main man, Ken, has returned after a 1 month absence.
Than me.
So we're very happy to have him back.
He's gone for 1 day, and everything goes crazy.
Well, I know. Craziness happened last month. You'll have to check out the video because we had a special guest of the Peanut Gallery.
Boy.
He's a real boy.
We should get a mic for you too, so you can just commentate randomly.
You know what?
Just insert you there.
It was possible that they didn't even notice that wasn't even me.
It's possible. It's possible they thought you had a secret identity that you were trying to.
You look almost identical to him,
Yeah,
except for like everything.
You know,
can we cut like a picture of me and Phil next to each other?
Just they say all those Comic Shop Talk guys look alike.
They all look the same.
Yep. So we got Tyler Hamill on the end there, and yours truly, Chris Mills. And so, with no further ado, let's get into the meat of the material. What have we got?
I think this week we're going to be talking about the Return of Wolverine.
Big return.
Yep, he's supposed to be coming back next.
But has he returned yet?
He has not returned yet.
So it's not the Return of Wolverine.
There's also we don't
There's
even
been
know
hints of return.
Yeah. Well, he made an appearance.
Yeah, he's returned, but not like
He's not
fully.
He's not fully returned.
It's like you know your buddy's back in town, but you still haven't gone out to see him yet.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten the call. He's probably busy doing family stuff.
Yeah, you know he's meeting up with like
That's it.
other people.
Because you're just
kind of
low
low on
priority.
that list.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in September, we're supposed to get the Return of Wolverine, which is it's going to be the start of a 5-issue miniseries that will bring in the full return of Wolverine.
The actual return.
The real return. But until then, for the last few months, we've been getting this Hunt for Wolverine series that's been split into a couple different main titles.
Yep.
You got the Claws of the Killers, Mystery Madripoor, the Adamantium. That wasn't Claws of the Killer. What was that?
No,
Weapons Lost.
Weapons Lost.
And Claws of the Killers.
And then Claws of the Killer.
And there's one more. There was the Avengers one, right?
Yes, we had the Adamantium agenda.
The Adamantium agenda.
It's in your hand right
Which
now.
which I'm holding at this moment.
That's the one.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yes, that's right.
But essentially, they're just they're different teams of characters, and they're all on the same mission. They're trying to track down Logan. So it all started off with the revelation that Logan's body had been basically stolen. The statue of adamantium that he had died and got encased in during the Death of Wolverine series, turns out it was empty. So we got a bunch of different teams are basically on a worldwide mission to hunt down different leads and try to find out what is going on with Logan's body.
And what did we find out?
Well, it all kind of cultivates in this issue that came out last week, The Dead Ends, and we get a wrap-up of what all the different teams have found out.
For those of you who like Cliff Notes version, this is the issue right here.
Yeah, you don't really have to read this. This is more like everything that happens here, you get a little bit more info down here.
Yeah, it basically just fills out the gaps of what they tell in here. But essentially, each one of these teams finds a different piece of the puzzle as far as what's going on with Logan's body. We still haven't really fully discovered it either, but it involves zombies on one side, stealing of genetic codes and mutant DNA, specifically Logan's.
Which I found the most intriguing part of the storyline.
Yeah, very cool. So, and there's there's this company. I want to say.
I don't know how to pronounce it at all. I could not figure it out.
Soria?
Sotera?
Satiri?
Sodiera?
Siri.
Siri.
That's what it was. Siri's behind it all.
So this is when like Apple just kind of takes over the world.
That's Apple.
Okay.
This is like the precursor to I Am Robot.
The evil apple.
So
Just like the Garden of Eden.
I am Weapon X.
It always comes back to that apple.
It does.
Well,
The root of all evil.
thanks, Steve.
So they basically all these different threads are tied back to this company. They're doing something about sending stuff in space and with code, genetic code, and creating zombies. And there's also what appears to be an evil Logan running around that he seems like he's either brainwashed or under the influence of these
That
powers.
doesn't sound like it came directly out of Logan.
Or out of a comic. Yeah.
Yeah, getting at Tyler.
Well, no, because Logan's always been like he's been mind controlled. Like that was like what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like from Weapon X, he's always been. That was one of the things that he had to fight. The programming.
That's right.
Be just a killer.
Yeah.
That's right.
At the end of Dead Ends, we kind of get this character Persephone, who's being teased here for the first time and will obviously play a big role in the upcoming arc. But it turns out she's the one that has Logan's body, and he's being held captive somewhere. We don't know by who or for what purposes, but what we do know is he has heat claws.
Is that we know for sure? Like it's not like
No, we know this
some
for sure.
strange thing that's occurring because of his restraints, or
No,
I was like, oh, that's weird. His claws are glowing.
Yeah, we'll just give
But
that a second so it sets in.
I didn't go to heat claws, but maybe.
No,
'Cause
definitely.
that's gonna suck when he retracts them.
So they don't know
If
what
you
it
ask
is.
the artist, he just says, it just looked cool. No, I'm just kidding.
It looked awesome on the cover.
Yes.
We did like foil cover with flames and it sold itself. It's been actually advertised in the Return of Wolverine that he's gonna have these heat claws. It hasn't really been explained. I don't think they're gonna be heated all the time, but there'll be something that
Why?
causes them to heat up.
Why would he need them to be heated?
He doesn't. I think it's gonna be like a side effect of something that happened to
Like
him.
these things can pretty much cut through darn near anything. Why do you need to heat it up?
Could
I don't
you
think he
imagine
needs it.
how
It's
good your
like-
kebab could be?
It just cooks right
Just
on the
like
skewer.
slice it on, cooks right
Cooks from the
there,
inside
like,
out.
He slices up some bread and it just becomes toast immediately.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Cuts
Gosh,
as he juliennes.
what an invention.
He's a time saver in the audience. Yes, Phil.
So do they specify how his claws are heated? Is it like actual body heat?
It
or is it-
literally just shows him with like,
I mean,
this,
we know
look at this.
nothing. This is the first panel that
hey,
we've
hey,
actually
zoom in there, cameraman that's definitely behind the cameras.
really seen him within the storyline. That's not true. There are other panels that, with the
We'll
flashbacks
put in a clip. We'll
of
clip
the
it in.
evil
Can we
things
clip
that
it in?
he's
We can
doing
clip
that
it in.
the Daredevil's team
Yes.
uncovered.
Yep.
So
And we're investigating.
My thought is
But-
like, what if they're radioactive? What if they're like radiation blades?
Well,
Radiation.
that would kind of play into adamantium is supposed to like release radiation at a slow rate. Maybe something happened that's like causing it to speed up.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
my thoughts. I mean,
Yeah.
because like radiation also gives off a ton of heat, so
He's basically
That's
cooking
true.
from the inside out. Well, what's interesting about that is that well, obviously with the return of regular man Logan, that the other Wolverines have now had to bow off the stage.
Regular man.
Regular
Logan.
man Logan.
It's like just a very underwhelming version of Logan.
This
Like
is
he's
like generic-
he doesn't
generic
even
Wolverine.
have claws. He's just like a normal guy.
Just regular dude Logan.
Just everyday kind of businessman. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go to work and do a job today. Regular man Logan.
I see him as like a woodcutter or something.
Just like a lumberjack.
Yeah.
He's Joe the plumber.
Nothing special.
Joe the
He
plumber.
gets a real
of
bad
Heroes.
splinter and it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to heal.
He's out of commission for days.
Just
I think that's infected.
oh no.
you see him pick up some sticks.
He's
like,
getting- he's
yeah,
getting some
I can
Hero
fight
Man's
somebody
comp.
with these.
He just puts them in between his fingers like you do with like knives. Like a Wolverine.
Puts his keys between his fingers when he's walking to the car at night.
Makes you feel like Wolverine.
Regular man Logan.
But the other Wolverines, Laura Kinney, who's X-23, who was all new, all different Wolverine, she's back to being X-23.
right.
And Old Man Logan looks like he's actually dying of adamantium poisoning because his healing. They've taken a page out of the Logan movie. His healing ability is slowing down. He's slowly dying from the inside out. So it looks like he's stepping out, which is pretty cool because that series also has been very good.
Oh,
And
phenomenal series.
I have a feeling that's going to come to like a heartbreaking ending. So a lot of cool stuff coming up for Wolverine.
So yeah, stay tuned for regular man Logan.
Regular man Logan.
Well,
You can have that for free, Marvel.
let's talk a little bit though. Let's delve back into some of the series that led up to this one issue, the Dead Ends issue.
Was there a particular team that you liked?
So I found it intriguing that you had 3 teams that are out there, probably with good intentions, right? Former allies, or not former, but allies of Logan, people who
actual form, like
have
he's-
good intentions, right? And then you've got
He had a
one
whole
book
team.
that featured a
Yes.
team of
Right, Claw's the
other
killer.
superpowered beings that really did not have good intentions, and so they all had different motivations, right? You've got the adamantium agenda featured. Who was it? We had basically the New Avengers.
The New Avengers, yeah. So it's got Iron Man, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Spider-Man.
That's right.
Tony kind of puts together that team almost as like a bit of a homage for Wolverine.
Exactly. He figured they had, they're highly motivated to help him out, right?
Yeah.
To find out the truth, because they were the original team, and they were the ones that tracked down Mr. Sinister, I believe, during I want to say it was a weapons kind of a conglomeration of like organized crime
It was
figures.
like a black market auction.
Black market
where
auction.
they're like auctioning off like information, and like one of the things that they were auctioning was genetic code for unspecified mutant,
That's right.
and they thought that was gonna be Wolverine. Didn't turn out to be Wolverine.
It didn't. Who did it turn out to be?
It turned out to be Luke and Jessica's daughter.
That's right. Which obviously set them off.
Yeah.
Trigger, so I think that was very interesting. You've come to find out that Mr. Sinister has a database of every single human being on the planet, their genetic code. And you can imagine how, in a world of superpowered beings, how dangerous that could be.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark feels a little bit of a temptation, doesn't he?
Yeah,
And I think
Tony-
people on his team don't really trust him.
Yes, it definitely. I think after the events of the last Civil War, there's a lot of reference to that of how they didn't really trust his judgment after everything that went down.
Yep, the Superhero Registration Act and all that other stuff, and which is a nice little nod, back to history, going back to like 2006,
For the original Civil
the
War,
original
yeah.
Civil War. So that's a nice like deep dig basically into their history, and but then Tony does the right thing, right? He ends up, or at least we think he does.
We think he does. He
Destroyed.
says he destroyed it all.
He says he destroyed the database.
And they
You
tied
know.
it nicely into like a thing that Wolverine had said to him in the past, something about putting people ahead of like progress.
Yes, exactly.
Because Wolverine had said that, Tony, I don't trust you because sometimes I think that you value progress ahead of people. He said, don't do that.
Right. And that was a nice little flashback moment. But then, of course, we come to find out in the Dead Ends issue that, or actually, we come to find out before that, I think, but that a copy of that database was made
Yeah.
and fell into someone else's
Prior
hands.
to them actually reaching the facility.
That's right. So then we have...
And there also happens to be a bunch of guards from this company, Soteria,
Yep.
that they're dead. So we have to assume that they were behind the hijack, the stealing of this
Yes.
of this data.
Right, one would presume. So, so that was, in my mind, that was probably the strongest of the stories, which are the most intriguing, I believe. On the opposite end, you have a team with the Claws of a Killer team, which was actually Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, and Daken,
Yes.
Wolverine's son, right? And their intent, once they find out that Wolverine might be running around somewhere, is to make sure he stays dead.
Yep.
They want him off. Like, if there's any hint of him actually being alive, they want to end him
Yeah.
quick.
They all have reasons
Right.
to want to kill him.
Exactly. And so they end up somewhere down south, I believe in a Texas town or something like that. I might be incorrect about the detail there, but they're somewhere in the south, and they end up in this town.
Arizona.
It's in Arizona, excuse me. And they're basically accosted by zombies,
Whole town.
Whole town of zombies.
whole town of zombies here, and two of them barely escape with their lives, and we don't really know what's happened to Dakin by the end of the.
I think we find out that he dies.
Yeah, he looks like
He looks like he's on a gurney, basically, right?
Looks like
Being
he's
carted
I
off.
think it was confirmed. I think Kitty Pryde confirmed it that he didn't make it out.
Or at least she suspects he's dead.
Well, we also saw that his body is
Right.
then, it's basically taken by that company.
Yes.
They come in afterwards when they do
Right.
the cleanup, and
Right.
then they haul Dakin's body out. So it seems like this company
Yep.
is actively, like, that's another thread that's running through all these books, that they're actively trying to just gather different mutants.
Right.
And for what end, we still don't know.
Right.
Oh, somebody's trying to get a hold of Wolverine's DNA. That's crazy. That's a completely brand new story arc, I'm sure.
What would anyone do with genetics clones of Wolverine?
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny. They made Tony makes a crack at one point where he says like, it's like a nightmare scenario to have a bunch of Wolverine clones running around, and Laura's right there. She's like, "You just call me a nightmare scenario." He's like, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean that."
Oops.
Except
Sorry.
you.
I forgot.
Except you're cool.
Yeah, you're okay.
You're not a clone.
You're okay.
Like, you're pretty much you're a clone, but
But there was something in this. There was at the beginning we see this green glowing stone that basically kills all the civilians in the town and then turns everyone to zombies.
Yep.
We don't really learn what that object is.
Right.
And that will probably play. Well, I would assume that would play into the bigger picture.
It has to at some point. Yeah. That wasn't some accident or unimportant detail, I don't think. So
I think
we'll find out more, I'm sure.
the book that I enjoy. I did enjoy this Mystery Martypor one.
Yep.
And this is basically just like Logan's Ladies.
Yep.
It's all the ex-ladies, Domino, Psylocke, Rogue, Storm, and Jubilee. Kitty Pryde's in it as well. It's basically all the women, ex-women that have had relationships with Wolverine in one form or the other. And
Wolverine's kind of like the James Bond of the Marvel Universe, isn't he?
like every one of his sidekicks is just a beautiful woman.
Yeah. What the heck?
It's good to be Logan.
Bob.
Yeah.
you live long enough, you
Logan's girl sounds like
understand
Charlie's
what's
Angels.
important in life.
He's
Yeah,
picked up a
exactly.
thing or two.
Yeah, it's surrounding yourself by beautiful people.
Are
He
they all
knows.
holding guns? Like, are all the girls holding guns? Or
Well, he's not like Charlie.
that's what I was saying when you said Logan's girls. I'm like,
He's
Logan's Ladies.
Logan's Ladies.
So they go into Martypor looking for clues, and they run into Magneto, who's being basically under the power of a bunch of other female baddies. One of the interesting things that came out of this book was that Psylocke returns to just being Caucasian Betsy Braddock,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yep.
Yep.
because since the 90s she's been trapped in this Japanese assassin body, which always
Right.
has been kind of a weird, I mean,
Yeah.
even in comics world, it was kind of like a weird situation for a character.
Yep.
So they returned her, and I think that was pretty neat. That was a neat part of that story.
Definitely. Definitely. And how about the kind of a head scratching team, right? The Weapon Lost
Oh, yeah.
book, which features
Misty Knight.
Daredevil and Misty Knight.
Yep.
Yep. So two big ones. Cypher.
Yeah.
Cypher, which was actually I really liked what they did with Cypher's character.
Yep.
So Cypher's character in this, they expand for you. All of those that aren't familiar with Cypher, and that's probably pretty common because
Yeah,
he's like the
he's
least cool of all the X-Men. His power is basically he understands any language. He can translate, he can read, and speak basically any language, which in itself not really that cool of a mutant power.
He's a human Rosetta Stone. Congratulations.
Yes, well done.
You did great in like Spanish class.
You can
Awesome.
be our translator. And
Fish.
Do you think he just messes with people because he's so bored with his power?
probably, and then he's got to feel bad because like, oh, now everyone can do what I do on their phones,
Yeah,
so I've
like,
become
he's
completely
He's not even unique anymore.
insignificant.
He's the
No.
X-Men Civil Affairs unit. Civil Affairs unit. So it's all good.
I was
Everyone
asked
needs
by
one.
Google. Oh, no.
We need a translator. I'll call Cypher. No, I got it on my
No,
phone.
it's
We're
okay.
good.
We don't need him.
He doesn't. Nah,
Cypher
just let him stay home.
Save the plane ticket.
Oh, no.
So but they do give Cypher kind of a new ability, and basically they say that he can also understand the language of like technology. So he's trying to like decode the internet. So they plugged him into the internet. He's trying to, like, his mutant powers is trying to get him to understand it, and it basically turns him crazy. He's got a little bit that crazy. And his need to solve the internet becomes almost like a physical addiction to him. So
Right.
like if he's not cracking, trying to crack this code, he's like jonesing for it.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of interesting with the whole, our technical addiction to our devices.
Absolutely. And then the other person that we didn't mention on the team, Inhuman, right?
Frank McGee.
Frank McGee, the former detective
I have
from
no
the
idea who that is.
New York Police
So I don't
Department
really
detective.
follow the Inhumans.
It's okay.
at
You
all.
wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be the
You'd be in a
first
fault for
Yeah,
not knowing
yeah,
Frank
uh-huh.
McGee. But apparently, him and Misty have a thing going that plays out in this title.
They do. And he's been kind of present in various capacities over the last probably year. He's been kind of prevalent in some of the books. I can't think of what those other books are offhand, but I know I had only become aware of him probably in the last year of comic reading. And but he's been in and out. But they're the ones that were basically hunting down the actual sightings of Wolverine's alleged deeds.
Yeah. So basically,
Right,
they're
so-
going to like social media and like different news
Yeah.
sites, and anytime there's
Right.
like any sighting of Wolverine, they're going to basically chase it down and
Right.
investigate.
Exactly. So it all culminates into, and we'll find out in September, right? September is going to be the big reveal, and we see Wolverine really back.
Well, we'll
you know,
see the
right?
first
And at
issue
least-
of Return of Wolverine. Whether
Right.
or not we actually see it, you have to be seen. I mean, we had Fantastic Four #1 come out last month, and they weren't in the book.
How curious is that, right?
It was
Well, I
pretty
mean-
clever.
They
Another
were,
swerve.
were in the movies, and you saw how well those went.
It was like, maybe it'd be better if they're not in this.
Leave them out.
All right. Well, for those of you who haven't caught up on Hunt for Wolverine, definitely think that you should jump on board.
I mean, you know everything already, so you pretty much don't even have to read it now. But you should.
There's a lot of cool moments we didn't talk about that you should definitely check out.
Yeah, there's
And,
this one scene where they used Luke Cage to basically plug a hole in the submarine. Just kind of push him up on the wall, then Spider-Man webs him in place, and he just stops the leak. It's ridiculous. What do you think?
Wouldn't Spider-Man just
Better
patch
than
up the
Flex
hole
Tape.
himself?
No, it
It's
would have
much
been
more fun if you can.
He didn't
if
have
you can
enough.
denigrate one of your friends while doing so.
They were under so much pressure that only Luke Cage's body could withstand the pressure of.
That's right.
That's what they said.
That's right.
I don't know. It was funny. And don't ask me about the physics of it.
I think at this point we can pretty much throw physics up there.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
comic book heroes.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about 60s Spider-Man where he makes a fully functioning boat with an engine out of web.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just where my brain went. I'm like, wait, he can make a...
All right. Next up, we're talking another X event, right?
So they're doing a lot of cleanup with the mutants. I wonder if this has anything to do with the Fox Disney news now that
Yeah.
it seems pretty close
Yeah,
to
ooh.
Disney getting all the rights back from Fox. Looks like
Nice.
Marvel's trying to get their property in order.
As long as they don't mess up Deadpool. Because
Yeah.
we got a good thing going with that right now.
I would love to see Deadpool in some crossover
That
with
would
some
be
of the
great.
other movies.
But it's got like they have to just let Ryan do it all.
They would. I imagine you'd have to. There's no other way it'd work.
Like he is the reason. Thank you, Ryan, for everything that you've done for us.
He's getting emotional.
We're good.
Now that Disney owns those properties, all I can think of is just Ryan Reynolds just writes a whole Deadpool movie with him as a Disney princess.
This is a princess movie. Thanks. Thank you so
Ryan
much.
morphs
Deadpool.
into Lady Princess Deadpool.
Yeah, it's literally just Lady Deadpool, but it's still voiced by Ryan.
But still
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Horrifying. Truly.
So Xtermination.
Right.
Is,
Right.
Getting back on
Yeah,
topic.
Oops,
getting
my
back
bad,
on topic
I
here.
apologize.
I'm
So,
sorry.
actually,
I don't have Wayne to yell at me.
we were trying to get all the X books back in order, and there's been another group that's kind of been hanging out around the Marvel universe that seems like they don't know what to do. And there's this X-Men Blue team that was brought in during the 2000s by Brian Michael Bendis when he wrote X-Men Children of the Atom. And basically what he did was he took the young teenage team from the 1960s X-Men and then brought them into present day. They were brought in by Cable, and they were supposed to learn something about the future, so that when they can go back to the past and basically stop a lot of this like terrible stuff from happening. But for whatever reason, they never went home. They've just never gone home. They've stuck around, and it looks like Xtermination is their days are numbered, and they're going to be going pretty soon. So we see a mysterious figure that's going around, and he's basically hunting down the team.
Yes.
And we don't really know why.
So we have two figures. We have one that is very clearly trying to kill these people, and then we have another one that is trying to capture them.
Well, I think they both were responsible for deaths.
Yeah.
They were both responsible for deaths, but when it comes specifically to the young X-Men, the ones that are trapped in the future,
Only one of them.
We have one group that's actually trying to hunt them down. One guy who's trying to hunt them down.
Yes. Okay.
So we have to start. We have Ahab.
Yes. Who is leading his groups of hounds?
Yep. Yes. And he has returned to basically try and annihilate all of the young X-Men.
Yes.
We don't know exactly his reasons why.
He also seems like he could be time traveling as well.
Yes, though there's definitely, and I think some of his dialogue kind of hints to that as well.
Yeah.
That he doesn't like the way that the future turned out, and he, I guess, based on Rachel Gray's dialogue, something about maybe he came to set things right by killing the young X-Men before they can change the future. And then we have another mysterious figure who is not trying to kill them, but he's been trying to capture them. And there have been some deaths involved with that.
Yes.
So
specifically with Cable.
Yeah, which is an interesting twist. First of all, the fact that Cable could be offed so easily. Yeah. When you find out who it was that killed him, you kind of understand. Because by
do you want to tell everyone who it is?
Yeah, so it was the end of the second issue. We get our, or is it the end of the first issue?
Actually,
end of the first issue, we get our look at who this mysterious figure is, and
man.
Ironically, it's young Cable.
It's young Cable. It's a younger time traveling Cable.
And here he just looks so just like, I mean, he looks like just a younger version of himself. He's got that stoicness, that power, that presence.
Because Cable in his prime.
And then you get, in this second issue, you get a little bit different depiction of young Cable, where he's freaking out like a little kid, like, oh crap, they're not supposed to be here. I gotta go. It's so you get a little bit more of the kid personality, but yeah, you're so basically we get this sort of idea that young Cable, I guess maybe it's kind of a little bit diluted right now exactly what's going on, but he too is trying to stop the way that the future is getting changed.
Yeah.
And there's dialogue between him and old Cable where basically he says, that
you messed up.
That Cable's plan wasn't going to work, that it messed everything up, and when Cable tries to defend, like, oh, this was our best chance, we had to take it, he's like, no, it was wrong, don't defend yourself, and then he blows his old self away.
With old Cable's own gun.
Oh yeah, and that's just messed up. When you steal your future self's gun and then kill your future
yourself,
it's like reverse Looper.
It's almost like futuristic suicide.
Like how do you deal with that? You kill yourself and then you're like, someday I'm gonna get killed by myself. Do you think he's going to try to avoid it, or just hope that the timeline corrects itself?
I think one of the things that they also put in this book is they're trying to talk about how this time traveling. We always assume that by changing stuff in the past, it's going to affect their future. But I think what they're trying to point out is that things have already changed so much that what happens to these people that's affecting that past might not actually affect this future, because this future is different from that other future.
Right.
So our outcome's not different. So what happens to you might not actually affect us at all.
Right. So pretty much everything that Doc Brown says is a lie.
Yeah. So hopefully, I think that what they're trying to do is saying, we can wipe these guys out and not have it impact our world at all, and we'll just kind of continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the second issue ends with a rather interesting twist.
Yeah, we see a new Hound.
The X Mansion gets attacked, and
By Ahab and his
by Ahab
crew
and,
and
his hounds.
hounds.
And we have quite an entourage of X-Men, young and old, fighting. And who was it that Ahab was talking to? He was talking to
Rachel?
Rachel Gray.
young Rachel Gray, who is a former.
Yes, because Rachel
she
was
was a former hound.
Yeah.
And when he returns, when he comes from whatever point in time and space that he was in, all of her hound markings.
Yeah, she
return.
starts to revert back to
Yeah.
being a hound.
That's right.
So they begin slaying these hounds left and right, and then he makes a comment to young Beast, young Hank McCoy, and says that he shouldn't worry about Rachel getting attacked, that she's not going to die, but he should be worried about his new hounds. And we have an image of Logan, old man Logan, with hound markings.
Ah, jeez.
And there's really nothing but the last clip thing. I can't think right now. The last one that we see him in, he's fighting a hound, and then now we get this back. This last.
It was like a
page where
snap
he's-
sound or
yeah.
something or whatever
so
it is.
there's no transition
Yeah.
between it wasn't like he got bit or something. It's just all of
Yeah.
a sudden now he's a hound.
Now he's a hound.
So hopefully we're gonna get a little bit more information about how that unfolds.
Right.
But it was very interesting.
That was pretty cool. It's been very violent too. It's been pretty crazy. I think this is going to be a pretty bloody issue. We're going to see a lot of people.
It takes place over the course of only a couple of hours.
Yeah,
Like, the
everything
first-
just kind of
the
goes to
first two
crap
issues-
immediately.
The first two issues, I think we had 2 dead X-Men within an hour of each other,
Yeah,
and then we had 2 more that just completely disappear.
That's right.
certainly not holding back on this.
No, not at all.
So that's cool. That's been a cool read. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
where this goes.
It's a 5-parter, so we
yeah.
got 3 more to go. All right. Next up, we're gonna, I guess, get out of the X universe a little bit here.
Jump into it's movie time. It's almost movie time.
It
We
is.
got to talk about Venom.
That's right.
This Venom run has been amazing. Written by Donny Cates, art by Ryan Stegman. It's been awesome.
Yes, it has.
This has been This book is so much fun.
This is Bat Venom, is it?
He's got bat-like features now. So
He's got all sorts of new abilities.
Could you explain how this comes to be? What
I
happens here?
love to explain how this came to be. So this story, this Venom arc has been dealing with the origins of the symbiote, and how he's not just they're not just individual entities, actually a piece of a bigger collective, and they're all tied to this one original. They call him the god of the symbiotes. He's attached to this host, Null, who's
Null,
kind of like the Venom god, I guess. And this guy basically he has the powers of all when a symbiote joins with somebody,
Right.
he kind of takes some of his power. That's why
Absorbs some of their abilities.
right. That's how come Venom has the spider-like abilities.
Exactly, yeah.
It's because he was bonded to Spider-Man before. Well, this God symbiote basically has all those abilities from all the symbiotes that have ever bonded with other beings. He basically has all of them.
Almost like a hive collective.
Almost exactly. That's exactly what it is. At some point, he comes to Earth and he wants to rejoin with Eddie Brock's Venom. And at some point, he does. They connect for just a second, but Eddie's Venom symbiote is so attached to him, he fights it off. But during that brief second that he connects, he gains all the powers of that original God's Venom.
Yep.
And now he's got this whole slew of other crazy powers. So it does a flashback at one point in this issue where I'm not sure if it's this issue or was another issue.
I think it might have been another. Yeah.
Oh, it might have been in the Vietnam one shot, I think.
Oh, okay. Yep.
They did a one shot called Venom, which was kind of
Yeah,
Nah,
it
it
was
was a
pretty weak
pretty
title.
hokey title.
Wow, that's Venom.
Yeah.
Web of Venom.
Yeah.
It was.
Good morning, Venom.
It wasn't the best title.
And we get the Rex character right
Yes.
at the background.
And basically it goes back and it shows when when Shield first encounters the symbiote, it's bonded to a friggin' dragon.
What?
Yeah, a dragon.
So originally Venom was a dragon.
No, it was saying that this dragon came from outer space and it had been infected by symbiote.
Oh, okay.
And that way it had been attached back to the original God symbiote, and that's how at this point,
So
when Venom gains these powers, he also He gets dragon wings.
So dragons from outer space.
Dragons from outer space.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense, yes.
Yeah.
There's all the stuff. It goes back to Vietnam as well. A lot of this ties back to another symbiote character, Rex Strickland,
Yep.
who was part of a secret group of soldiers that S.H.I.E.L.D. basically infected with the symbiote to turn
Right.
them into like these, killing machines.
Right.
This one particular symbiote became so bonded to his host that when his host eventually died, he stuck around mimicking this guy,
That's right.
pretending to be Rex Strickland. And he's the one that actually contacts Eddie, teaches him about all this history, and kind of gives him a backstory of like who he is, what these symbiotes can do. And it's just been such a cool run. It's been so crazy horror, and the artwork
Is phenomenal.
friggin' insane.
Yep.
It's truly a horror book.
Yeah.
It's definitely got like a really good horror feel. There's a ton of mystery. It's just awesome.
Yep. And by the end of issue 5, what development takes place between Eddie Brock, his symbiote, and Rex? Well, if it ever bothered you or confused you when Eddie Brock is talking to the symbiote, well, now he's got 3 personalities. Because
Basically.
the Rex symbiote, we can't really call it Rex anymore, but that symbiote ends up joining Eddie Brock and his symbiote.
Like a
to
threesome
form
in
one.
there.
There's
That'll
yes,
get confusing.
exactly. To join powers, basically, to become more powerful, to fight Null eventually. And, obviously they're still going to be overmatched, but, 2's better than 1.
Yep.
Or in this case, 3.
I mean, Eddie's just there to provide the body, right? I don't know how much he brings to the table.
That more strong moral compass that he's
Yeah.
developed over the years.
Right.
Yes.
That's the guiding force.
The guy that eats brains.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Well, he's no Flash Thompson, but
He most certainly is not.
it could be worse, folks. It could be worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool read though.
Yeah, totally. I'm really digging this Venom run. The one shots have been okay. I read the first host, and it was interesting. I thought Venom was actually, as dumb as the title was, the story was actually pretty good.
A much better story than it was a title.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
clearly better title than story than title.
Yeah. So I think is that all we have for Marvel talk for now? But I think we're going to switch gears to something a little more offbeat.
Yeah.
I think-
Yeah, definitely a very interesting title.
So we were talking in Pop Culture Talk last month. We talked about a little bit of a crossover, a D&D crossover, right?
Yeah.
With Magic: The Gathering in
yes,
terms
yes,
of the
yes.
game world. But in the comic world, we also have D&D crossing over with another
Possibly the most
intellectual property.
popular property out there is Rick and Morty versus D&D.
Yeah. So this has been a lot of fun. It basically kicks off the way any regular Rick and Morty episode might. Morty's getting into shenanigans, and he gets Rick involved. But this time, there's a bit of a surprise. Instead of Rick being disappointed in his grandson and having to use some strange adventure to teach him a lesson about not being so Morty, he's actually quite proud of young Morty.
And before we tell the audience why, can we kind of rewind a little bit to the first pages of the setup of the book, which is Morty observing his fellow classmates and being in awe of just how much game
Everybody,
apparently gamers have. All right.
everybody in school is talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
All the
And
coolest
how-
kids are getting the hot D&D girls.
Exactly. Like everyone's getting like
all those
all the most popular
hot
kids.
D&D girls out there.
All those girls that are like, oh man, you see the 12-sided roll he had? Oh boy.
Man, when he rolled that 20 and
I felt I was reading some like paradoxical worlds, like when I'm reading the first few pages, I'm like, what?
Is that
Is
what's
this really what happened back when I was in school?
maybe? Well,
No.
maybe it's not what. Maybe it's like updated for today's generation. Maybe
I
it's
mean,
cool
I gotta
today.
be
it
honest,
is, maybe-
a lot of people just
maybe
quite
that
enjoy
is.
it nowadays.
Yeah.
I got so many friends that like they just would not ever want to play. Tyler, you remember that story? We had an extra seat at the table. We needed somebody to fill it, and I had my buddy there, and I was like, "Hey, you want to sit in?" And he gives me this look. He gives me like that. And I'm looking at him like, "Listen, I understand. You never wanted to find yourself at this level of nerd where you're actually sitting down playing D&D." I was like, "All you gotta do is roll the dice and like fight stuff."
Tyler
That's
was
it.
too cool for D&D back
Way
in
too
the day.
cool for it. Let me tell you, he's been back for like every game since. Like this kid plays in like 4 different games. I actually called him up one morning. I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna play D&D," and he gets here to the shop. And he's like, "Yeah, I was hanging out with the girl last night. We had a pretty good night, and then in the morning I wake up, saw your text, and I look at her and I'm like, all right, gotta go play D&D." I'm like, "Wow, you ditched out on a hot date to come play D&D? Oh, aren't you?"
Priorities, man.
Yeah, okay, can't complain. But yeah, no, like, we've been allowed to get in touch with our inner fantasy nerd.
I mean, isn't that the whole reason why all of us started playing D&D in the first place? Was to get girls.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
100%.
Didn't work, but
100%. All the kids
Absolutely.
D&D.
that's what I thought.
I mean, come on. When you can, like, defeat a dragon with, like, HP to spare, like, you don't even have to cast.
Oh yeah,
cast
girls will
spells.
swoon
Oh,
over
yeah.
that. There's
Oh,
like,
absolutely. It's like, yeah, just a couple swings of the sword, went down. Oh my god.
Or at least a half-elf princess in the game would have swooned over it. That was probably the closest to a girl you were going to get.
played by Tyler.
So anyway, getting back to the story. Now, let's talk about why
Well, normally
Right.
Rick is so proud.
Well, normally Rick craps all over Morty's ideas, right? He's usually the first one to take the piss out of him.
I was gonna actually directly read from the book the way this interaction works because it's very.
Please do. It was pretty
It's
entertaining.
very Rick. So you have a Morty who comes in to Rick's garage, basically begging him to help him understand how to play D&D by using science to put the books directly.
Basically, just
into Rick.
cram him
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, so you have this interaction where Rick comes in. He's like, "Morty, you remember when I got a certain part of your body stuck in a shampoo bottle? Sorry, explicit. And you came to me for
His
help."
pinky.
Yes. "And I explained to you that Hidaxian has over 80 words for disappointment in their language, and despite that, I was still more disappointed than any of those words combined and in any arrangement could express." Yeah. "And 3 days later, what happened? I got it stuck in the bottle again, and you showed me mathematical proof that if you ever felt shame at that level again," I can't do a Morty, "your brain would permanently stop producing oxytocin and you would die. Do you have dice, Morty?" "Aw, geez, Rick, don't mock me. It's just a get. Do you have? You already have bought dice. Are you holding?" And it's just him holding the dice.
Are you holding? I love that. I love that line.
And then you have a tearful Rick. "Morty, my boy, I take back 23% of things I ever said about you."
Dungeons and Dragons, bitches!
So, yeah, thank you for sitting through my terrible Rick and Morty voices.
That
It was a decent
beautiful,
Rick.
Tyler.
Tyler.
Well, I
Don't
hear
regret your
when I have had a few at the bar, I actually do a very good Rick, not on purpose. You can ask.
Well, that's better than doing a good Morty.
Yeah, oh my. I don't know how they do Morty. But yeah, so you have a Rick that is just the OG of Dungeons and Dragons.
Like,
players.
Rick goes all the way back to, like, first edition.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
he
right.
is just- he is
Before
so
the red
excited
box, he
for the
says.
entire thing.
Before the red box.
Yes.
Before the red box.
Before the red glorious box that I got for Christmas. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Now on sale for $35.
Oh, red
Yeah,
box.
only $35.
Yes.
Classic. buy our stuff.
So we see Rick with Morty teaching him how to roll up a character, and then he invites some old D&D buddies to come over and play a classic first edition D&D game with all the terminology.
And did you notice that the DM kind of looks like George R.R. Martin?
Yeah, seriously.
It does.
And then Rick Morty doesn't seem to have a very good time. His character dies like 7 different times.
Surprise.
In one session.
And he's gotten pretty sick of this first edition crap, and he just wants to learn on his own. Morty's got a better idea. Rick's got a better idea, rather. He decides he's gonna whip up a fancy machine that he can attach to the Roy game at Blitzbin Ships.
Blitz and Jets!
If you are a regular Rick and Mortyer.
You guys don't know what Roy is? It's basically a virtual reality experience of living out a person's life named Roy.
And they download themselves directly into a world. And shenanigans continue to ensue right up to the point where Morty accidentally kills Rick.
But fortunately, Morty's also a cleric, so he's got heals.
He was a paladin.
He's a paladin, yeah.
But he doesn't understand how to lay on hands.
Yeah. Not yet.
It's pretty good.
Morty's still new. He's still figuring these things out, and then eventually they cut the cord in the Blitz and Chits machine, and they're stuck in there.
By the end of the issue, a couple of employees who recognize Rick are pretty sick of his regular crap. Decide, you know what, we're just gonna unplug the machine, and don't really give a second thought to the fact that completely fries their brain. And that's the end of this.
How would they know that?
Rick and Morty. And now we have like a nice little caption image for our second issue. We've got Beth and Summer, with Summer taking a selfie and Beth trying to slay her way through some dungeon creeps. So yeah, it should be a pretty interesting second episode. I don't know how it's gonna tie in.
Looks like the rest of the family's gonna join them. We haven't seen Jerry show up yet.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I love this. So they had a cover that showed basically Morty's character sheet and how he rolled it. And in the back, they got like Rick's character sheet, and obviously he's a wizard, and he's got anyone that's played D&D, they know the character sheet's been scribbled on with little notes and like pictures of the different monsters that they've slain, and it's just really cool. All the little details they put in this book, the little Easter eggs, the little callbacks.
So,
like you mentioned, one of the dice bags.
Yes, so if anyone who has, at least in recent years, played D&D, there's always at least one person in your group that drinks Crown Royale. And inevitably, for anyone who doesn't drink Crown Royale, every bottle that you purchase comes in a nice little bag.
It's like a perfect velvety bag.
And
Perfect dice pouch.
And so you always have that one player that drinks that and uses the bag for their dice. And in one of the pictures here, you've got Rick holding up the red box, the second edition advanced red box, and a Crown Royale bag full of dice. As Rick is
it's a nice touch.
definitely one to hit the sauce.
Nice touch.
So, I don't know if you guys know this, but Dan Harmon, the guy who voices both Rick and Morty, has been playing D&D since the Red Box.
So that kind of makes sense.
So this isn't just like, oh, let's just have a quirky episode where Rick and Morty are playing D&D. No, Dan Harmon actually genuinely loves playing Dungeons and Dragons.
This crossover did not happen by accident.
No, this was very well thought out.
Do you remember before I was telling you about Harmon Quest?
Yes.
Well,
Right.
it's Dan Harmon's D&D group that he and his animation friends just draw over.
Well, we can thank IDW and Oni Press for getting together and giving us this little mashup.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic.
And
I'm
there's-
looking forward to the second issue.
Yeah.
And then,
Does it say how many issues we have in the series?
I don't know. I don't know if
who would Jerry team up with?
What would Jerry be?
they useless. He'd be a bard.
Oh my gosh!
My man.
I made a bard too, Morty. And then I
Looking
burned it.
good.
And then I burned the character sheet.
Oh, charisma sounds really good. Nah, it's a rookie move, Morty. That's your dump stat.
Jerry, a man who has no charisma in real life, just wants to be the most charming and charismatic person he can be. A moment of silence.
So, is there anything else in comic world worth mentioning before next month, or maybe teasing next month? Maybe we should be talking a little bit about there's a certain DC.
Yeah, let's
book.
talk about DC since we haven't
Yeah.
touched. We didn't do any DC books this month. There's a book that's coming out next month. It's a miniseries written by Tom King, who's currently writing Batman, and Mr. Miracle, which are both excellent titles. And being drawn by Clay Mann, who's fantastic. And it's called Heroes in Crisis. And I believe it's either a 5 or 6 issue mini, and it deals with trauma. The writer Tom King actually was a ex-CIA agent, and he went through a lot of stuff with like PTSD and dealing with stress and trauma. So this story is definitely something that's very personal to him. It deals with this sanctuary that Batman creates, basically a place for superheroes to go after they've suffered trauma, to kind of learn how to cope and deal with this stuff. Because you gotta imagine, as a superhero, you must just see this crazy stuff all the time.
Yep.
And
Yeah, well, I mean, Iron Man 3.
so they have this sanctuary, is basically a place where people can go and try to become sane again.
Yep.
And there's a mass shooting that breaks out, and 6 superheroes are shot dead. And now there's like a lot of repercussion as far as like, who did it? Why did they do it? Are we still safe here? Do we even carry on with this mission? Do we close this down? Is this a failure, or do we try to pick ourselves back up and try to keep going? So
Wow, that's some deep, like real, like controversial stuff.
I think it's like really deep personal stuff, and I love it because it's
That's
like
harsh.
on that border between where like the comics actually like bumps into like what the reality of it would be like.
Sure.
I feel like that's some massive social commentary right there.
I definitely think so too, and especially putting in stuff like shooting and dealing with stuff like PTSD and mental health issues.
Yep.
I think it's very heavy subject matter, but if there's an author that I would trust to do it, I think Tom King's gonna
I think
absolutely crush it.
That's a bold step. It really is, but I think that touches into something that is probably kind of absent from superhero comics. You always see a superhero as somebody that's like strong and confident and capable.
At all times, right?
Yeah.
You can't have
And then
any
you
sense
see
of
this
weakness.
Other side of you. I mean, I'm sure, of course, DC is always like brooding and, oh, my parents were murdered. Yeah, okay, shut up. Batman.
We
got
know.
you. Like, all right, awesome. Like, your parents are dead, and that's why you're Batman. Cool. But I guess maybe seeing, and Batman of all people to start this up, I guess he kind of understands.
He would be the one to
trauma.
understand it the most.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's pretty big. I feel like that's something that, especially so many young people nowadays, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world.
You deal with these traumatic incidents, and like, yeah, how do you process it?
So to be able to find some sort of like solace, some sort of understanding, like feeling like you're understood just by reading a comic, I think that's pretty cool.
I do
I
too.
think that's a bold move, and I think that's smart.
I think it's something that goes beyond just like. I think there are a few books that you'll see that go beyond like what your typical capes and spandex books are.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be something special, so I'm super excited about it. And for all the reasons that you mentioned, I think it just kind of touches on something beyond what we typically see out of our books.
Right. That's excellent. So that's a little preview of maybe what to look forward to in the next month or two.
Heroes
If
of
there's
Crisis,
enough,
I think, is out next month.
and if there's enough material for us to discuss it, I'm sure it'll be a big topic for our next episode.
Yeah, if you
So-
there's some preview pages up. The artwork looks absolutely gorgeous, so I'm really excited about that too, because it just looks like DC really went all out for this series. They put their best talent on this.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's all we have for you this month, but we encourage you to check out all our videos, including months past, and also the pop culture videos. And we're
Coming up
actually
next.
Coming up next. Yeah, that's right. We'll be filming that one next. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.